Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Asad Ali, and in this video I'll tell you how to become Python web scraping expert. So right now let me just see what I. All right, so I hope you can hear me just fine. And let me just quickly show you. Okay, so first of all, let me create a new Jupyter notebook file first. I hope you can hear me. First of all, let me create a new Jupyter notebook file first. Open your just click on open folder here. Go to anywhere. In my case, I'll go to my projects folder, and I think I have tutorials folder here. There we go. Okay, inside roadmap, I'm going to create this Jupyter notebook file. Okay, if you have any questions, you can directly ask me in comment section. I was having trouble in my previous broadcast. So anyways, all right. So first of all, remember that before we start, we need to know that if you want to learn Python web scraping, you should have some grip on Python. Okay, Python. Just don't worry about going too deep into it. Just learn about basic stuff like syntax, and you should know about different data types, how we store the data in lists, sets, and dictionaries. After that, learn about like if-else statements, loops, for loop, while loop, and then functions are important as well, and they go as long as up to like classes. Okay, so have some basic understanding of classes, how you import a class, how you inherit a class as well, like class methods, instance methods, static methods, just basic stuff. I think just take maybe 1 or 2 weeks to understand all these things. I think it's not going to take too long. If you give 2 hours a day to Python, I think 2 weeks or maximum it will take up to a month to like get yourself familiar with Python. So once you are familiar with Python, once you have like basic understanding of it, Next step is starting with something basic like request library in Python. So to understand, to learn that, simply first try to install that in your computer. If you have a terminal, let me show you. Fix that first. Okay, this is a terminal. Okay, so in my case I have MacBook, but if you have Windows or if you are using any other operating system, the just open your terminal, command line terminal. If you, I think if you install Anaconda Navigator in your computer, Windows computer, I think it gets a lot easier if it has a terminal, built-in terminal, and Python's installed in that terminal, so you don't need to worry about anything. Alright, so now that terminal is open, so in case of Anaconda terminal, just type pip, or if you are using command line terminal, I think that there you have to use, you can still use pip, and if you have installed Python and you from official website, then I think it asks you to add the pip in your default path. Just set that check that option and then install Python, and I think you are good to go. Anyways, now that we have pip installed and Python installed, just type pip3 install requests. Press enter, it's going to install request library. In my case, it's already installed, so it's showing me requirements already set first. Okay, so don't worry about it. It's just simple procedure. If you are getting any errors, you can ask me in comment section of this video or later on in the uh, in this on below comment section. Okay, so now that we have request library installed, let's go back to our Visual Studio code. I am using Visual Studio Jupyter Notebook. So if you have Anaconda Navigator, just go to your terminal, type Jupyter Notebook here. Once you press enter, it's going to show you, take a little bit of time, and after that it's going to open a window just like this one. I guess you are able to see it. Okay, something like this. Okay, so if it doesn't open that, you just need to go back to your terminal and copy this link. Okay, just copy this link, paste it into any of your browser, and it's going to open a Jupyter Notebook window in that browser. So from there you can simply navigate to different locations, and in my case I think I have opened it in some folder like this one, and just go create a new folder, and you will be able to like create a new notebook. Just click on new, click on Python 3 IPY kernel, and it's going to open a new notebook for you. It's pretty simple and easy. So if you have an Anaconda Navigator, you can use that. If you have Visual Studio, I'm going to tell you how to use that, how to do the same thing in your Visual Studio code as well. Okay, so now what you're going to do is just inside your VS Studio, click on this extension button, and it's going to load a bunch of extension itself. But what you need is, you need Jupyter Notebook. Just type Jupyter, press enter. I think I have already installed, so it's going to probably show me. Let me just simply show you from installed ones as well. See, this is the extension. All you need to do is just click on this, type Jupyter here, and it's going to show you something like this. Just click on install, and it's going to install the Jupyter Notebook in your Visual Studio Code. And after you install, just I think you have to restart your Visual Studio to load it. Anyways, once it's done, just open a folder in your Explorer and click on this file. Sorry, a new file, and you will see a Jupyter Notebook option here. Just click on this, and it's going to open a Jupyter Notebook file. Before you like start doing anything, just pip install. Sorry, requests. Click run, and it's going to ask you to select Python environments. Okay, just click on this. Don't worry about it. It's going to show you a recommended one. Just click on recommended one, and it's going to install Jupyter Notebook. Okay, all right, now let me just clear the output and create new cell here. Let me import requests that I have installed. Import requests. Now we have our request library ready to use. Before we go there, remember that in our browser, let's go back to browser because I don't need it. So let's just quit that and to stop your you know Jupyter notebook that is running on your terminal, just press Control plus C and it's going to terminate the session. Okay, so let's go back to our just a minute. All right, I think you are able to see my screen, right? The Chrome browser, right? Okay, so let's before we start using our request library, first thing is to understand the internet. I think I have explained this in my videos as well, but right now I'm going to give you an overview, basic overview. Remember that whenever you are going to like type a link in your browser, what it does is that it sends a request to a DNS server first, which translates your domain name to the IP of the server, target server, and then you get the response from that server. Okay, so let me just show you how it works. Let me just right click on this, inspect, go to network. Now you will see the requests going on, what happens in the background. Okay, let's google.com first. Click on this, click hit enter, and you will see, just a minute, the top request www.google.com. In header section, you will see what's really going on in the backend. This is the link that we have made our request to. After that, you see that this is a status code. I'll explain the status code in a bit. But before that, if you look here, we have this remote address. Remote address is basically the IP address of the server, that Google server that right now we are sending our request to. Which means that whenever we make a request to a domain, if it's facebook.com or google.com or any other domain, first it sends a request to its DNS, which means domain name server, to send a, what DNS does is that it translates a domain name to its IP address. After that, what we get is we get the response from that server. This is what a response looks like. Let me just show you the page source as well. So this is the response. It looks pretty raw, right? So in general, what happens is that whenever we send a request using request library, we get all the response like this. So to take care of that, to parse this response, what we do is we simply use BeautifulSoup library, and there are other bunch of libraries that we can use, but most of the time we are using XML because it supports XPath and CSS selectors, or it's pretty popular library BeautifulSoup, which is everyone's like talking about. Anyways, now that we have now that you understand what it looks like, what happened, what really happens. Anyway, now that if you look at this status code means that whenever you send a request to a server, it responds and it sends the status code as well. So from status code, we know that if response is okay or not. If you get 200 response, it means that everything is okay. Anything between 200 and 300, less than 300, from 200 to less than 300. Okay, everything in that range is fine, which means that you got the response, you got whatever you wanted. And from 300 onwards, if you get 300 to 399, anything between that, it means that your link has redirected and to another website. Okay, if you send a request to, let's say, one website and it redirected to another page, another website, you will get a response. Okay, and if you get 404, it will mean that the page you are trying to access doesn't exist. Let me just show you. Let's do this and type anything here, and you will see that you got 400 if you sorry 404, and if you look here you will see that we got 404 this status code. Now if a page does not exist, we get 404, but if there is server side error, page is not configured, or response we do not get expected response, it's not 404, but it's not redirect, it's not the response that we expect as well, and it's not handled. In other case, in other words, we will get something 500. If it's server side error, we always get 500 response. Or if it's also it's authentication error, if you need to use an API key, or if you need to use like some kind of authentication to access the data, then you will always get something more than 500 response. Let me just show you. Let me just go there and just type something. So if you look here, you didn't respond anything. It means that it's not 404, but it's server side error because it's not configured. So let me just click on this and see we have got 500. Okay, there are different types of status codes. You need to know that sometimes we have to process different responses, and we have to make sure that if we get 200 response, then we want to go on with our code, and if we don't get 200 response, we do not want to go forward with that response. Anyways, this was the basic overview, so I'm not going to going into too much details about this, but I wanted to give you some overview. All right, so right now I think we are okay. Just a minute. Okay, let's go back to our Visual Studio Code. And first, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to as we have already installed request library and we have imported request library, all we need to do is we need to like get a link. Let's just create a variable r equals to requests dot get, and inside of that I'm going to paste any link that in my case let's do that web data 360. Just paste the link here and click run. Now the response is saved in R. And what I was talking about I think I didn't mention the headers. Headers are also important because remember, whenever you send a request, open a website from your mobile phone, the website is different, but if you the layout is different because you get the response which is suitable for mobile phones, but if you open the same website on your like computer or your iPad, you get a different response, and it is like suitable for that browser. So how server know that which response to send, which website to send to the request? It like figures that out from header. So to see the header, let me just show you the header as well. So if you see here, I have sent a request to this server. Let me just go to Google, back to Google. Okay, here I think it's a lot simpler. Anyway, if you see here, when I made a request to this server, it translated the server from domain to IP. Okay, and also it has sent some request header, some with our request. And inside request header we have this user agent. This is where Google, the server figures out that where this request is coming from. Okay, if it is coming from a mobile phone or a MacBook or a desktop computer, if it is coming from a Linux operating system, Windows operating system, all the information is right there in this user agent. If you look here, I'm this telling the server that it is coming from a MacBook browser. Okay, and after that, now that we have our user agent, So if user agent is not present, server will recognize the request as coming from a bot or script. Okay, so make sure that you add a user agent and inside your header whenever you are making a request to the to a website. Anyways, for now I did not edit any header because there are no restrictions on the server, so you can make the request to any server if the server doesn't have any restrictions protecting itself from the bots. So now next step, let me just type the text, order text. If you do order text, you will see all the response that you have got. All right, if you look here, you have got a lot of response here. See, now this is the response. This is a lot of response. Okay, it's not showing me properly, but if you look here, there's a lot of response that I got from a website. So what I need next is that I need, let me just show you in the window. So this is the website, and if I go to the view page source, if you look here, this is the response I have got using this request library. So next thing what I need is I need to get this response, process this response, extract the useful information from it. So this is where we need a parsing library. You can use BeautifulSoup. You can use XML library. I highly recommend using XML library because it is really good if you want to get yourself familiar with XPath selectors and CSS selectors, because if you're using BeautifulSoup, you cannot use the XPath selector. I've repeatedly said that before. So, but the problem is there are a lot of tutorials telling you about how to scrape a website using BeautifulSoup and the request library, and because it does not support XPath, although it's a powerful library, but it does not support XPath, so you cannot use BeautifulSoup when you are crawling a large-scale website using Scrappy framework, or if you are using a Selenium automation tool, because both of them use selectors like XPath selectors, CSS selectors, so it's a lot easier if you're using something that supports XPath and you get yourself familiar with XPath and CSS selectors when you start learning Python website. Okay, so now that you know how internet works, so now I'm going to tell you what are the basic requirements to learn Python web scraping. First of all, get yourself familiar with HTTP requests, proxies, IP addresses, okay, and sockets. Sockets, you don't. If you learn about sockets, you will get more in-depth knowledge about internet and how it works, how requests are sent and how requests are received. But I think it's really important to understand. First, understand HTTP request, how HTTP works. This is a protocol which is used to send requests over the internet. And after that, you will have some knowledge about proxies. It's really important to understand proxies as well, and as well as IPs. When you learn about proxies and IPs, I think these two are interrelated as well. So after that, I think to start with, and also learn about HTML as well. Basic understanding of HTML is really important, because if you don't have any understanding of HTML, you will not be able to pass the HTTP response that we get using request library. I have shown you the response as well. Now that you are familiar, when you have this theoretical knowledge about the internet, now this is the stage where you will be able to send a request. You will understand how a request works. So now you will install request library. Try to learn about request library, because request library is used for sending HTTP request over the internet. There are a lot of resources over the internet that you can use. You have documentations of request library. Okay, there are so many tutorials on YouTube that you can watch and understand how request library works and how you can use that for sending request. Once you do that, remember that request library is not enough. Along with request library, you will have to learn something called parsing library as well, because parsing libraries are used to extract useful information from the raw response. Whenever you send a request using request library, you will get a response. Now it's important that you parse that response and get the response that you need. Okay, so in our case, because we are doing web scraping, so we will have to make sure that we use that response to we extract the useful information, and not all, we don't need all the raw data, right? So to do that, we have two options, two really important options: Beautiful Soup and LXML library. Beautiful Soup is a really powerful library. There are a lot of tutorials, but remember that whenever you're watching a video on YouTube, make sure that it's a new video, and it is whoever is you know teaching Beautiful Soup, it is not like 5 years old or 6 years old video, because whenever you are watching an old video, it's not going to be useful because they are latest libraries libraries that are really powerful and useful. So make sure that you are using those libraries. Okay, just remember that. Now, in our case, I think I always recommend using LXML library because it's force XPath and CSS selectors. Because whenever you are scraping a website, you have to crawl large websites like e-commerce websites, hundreds and thousands of pages. So you cannot rely on something like request and Beautiful Soup, because if you do that, it's going to take forever. So because we will be talking about using export selectors and CSS selectors, and we will be using them in our next frameworks, Scrappy framework, Selenium automation as well. So don't waste your time on Beautiful Soup. Try to get yourself familiar with CSS selectors and export selectors. Okay, so use LXML library, and once you use LXML library, it is going to I mean it is going to help you to learn Scrappy and you know Selenium as well much faster, and it will be a lot more useful for you. Let me give you a small example of LXML library and what you can do with it. Let's first install LXML library. I think I have already installed, but let me show you how you can install that. Inside your Jupyter notebook, just type pip install uh, LXML, and to do that, make sure that you add this sign, okay, in the beginning. Just click here, the play button. It's going to install LXML library, and if you have pip3 installed, just type pip3 pip and pip3, and it is going to install LXML for both of them. All right, let's wait a little bit until it's complete. All right, now you can see that it is complete. All right, I think I do get some problems with the streamings now and then. I think you can see the Visual Studio, right? Anyways, to install a request library, let me just give you an overview what happened before. Okay, to install request library, just go to pip install request, and it's going to install request library in your computer. Once you do that, just import request library and send request to the website using request library using .get method. Okay, just type r equals to request.get and you will see the response. All right, now that we have a response, response looks like to see the response, just type response r.text, and it's going to print all the response in the response outputs. All right. So now that this is a raw response, let me just show you what this response looks like. Okay, this is the response that I'm talking about. This is the response which is going to be there. So let's just go back to Visual Studio Code, and now what I need is I need a parsing library that I have discussed before. So let's just import LXML. To install LXML, just type pip install LXML and hit play button, and it's going to install LXML library in your Jupyter notebook as well. Okay, now let's use that LXML library from LXML import HTML. Okay, and press the play button, and it's going to load it. Now create a new cell, and I'm going to use the response inside this HTML module so that I can parse the response. To do that, let's call it response equals to HTML dot from string, and inside of that just type r.text. Now it's going to create a response object, and on that we can use XPath to get whatever we need. So to see what we got, just type response, and it is an HTML element object. Okay, so what I can do over here is that I can do XPath, and inside of that I'm going to write an XPath. XPath always starts with double forward slashes, and I'm going to get the h1 tag. So I've got multiple h1 tags, so I'm going to do is I'm going to get the text out of it. So if you look here, I've got multiple h1 tags, but this is the one I will get. Okay, so let's get first one and strip and see what we have. So if you look here, we have this empowering your business with the data you need from any website. This is the h1 tag that we were looking to extract. So this is the empowering your business from the data that you need. Okay, so now let's try to get our h2 tag if we have any services. H3 tag, sorry. All right, so I hope you have some basic understanding of how parsing libraries work. See, we have got all the responses, all the H3 tags from in as a list. This is H3, first H3, this second, third, and fourth. So this is how parsing library works. That you send a request and you get a response. Response is usually raw response, so we use parsing libraries to parse that response. Now the next stage is using Scrapy framework. So the Scrapy framework is a comprehensive tool. Remember that this is a step-by-step thing. First week, spend some time on learning Python, not Python. Spend 2 weeks on learning Python, its syntax, for loop, while loop, and everything that you need to know about Python, basics up till classes and objects. Okay, don't spend more than 2 weeks on Python. Okay, and in third week, try to understand request library and how to send. Sorry, not request library. Try to understand HTTP requests, HTTP protocol. Okay, there are two types: HTTP and HTTPS. HTTPS is more secure. HTTP is normal protocol that is used to send HTTP requests, and also learn about IP addresses, proxies that I have mentioned before. Now, after third week, fourth week is about learning this request library and BeautifulSoup and LXML. Request library, get yourself familiar with request library, how internet works, how you send a request, how you add an header inside a request, and how you parse that response, different types of response. Let me show you what I mean by different types of response. If you let me create a new cell. So we received our response in R variable. So let's type R dot, that is code. Click the play button, it will print you the status code that I have shown you before in our browser as well. Whenever our browser sends a request, it gets a different types of response. So in this case, we got 200 response, which means everything is okay. So if I want to parse a response, if I get 200 response only, then in that case, I make sure that we have we go forward from this point by using this response code. If it is 200, we go on and parse that response. If it's not 200, we skip it and show an error. So we can use response status codes as well. And what it means, what I'm trying to say is that you can simply get yourself familiar with request library, how it works, how you can create a request, different types of request responses and headers, a bunch of other stuff. Also proxies, make yourself familiar with that as well, because you have learned about proxies, so you can learn how to implement proxies inside your request library. Once you get the response, try to get yourself familiar with parsing libraries as well. Maybe it's BeautifulSoup or LXML. Make sure that you have understanding of how different HTML tags, what are different HTML tags, what are the attributes that you are going to use, and you will need to extract the required information from HTML response. Okay, so this is really important. Now that you are at week 4, I guess, after you complete week 4, you will have understanding of the internet, the Python, internet, request library, and parsing libraries. Now we have really important part where we spend most of our time. Spend 3 to 4 weeks on understanding Scrappy framework. It's almost 1 month, more than 1 month. So make sure that you spend some time on Scrappy framework, enough time on Scrappy framework, because Scrappy framework is really comprehensive tool that is used for web scraping. You can crawl hundreds and thousands of pages using Scrappy framework, and you can collect data, you can scrape websites, you can download files, images, and it's really useful tool. I think it's all-in-one tool that you can use to collect data. Okay, so make sure that you understand its settings, its pipelines, its middlewares, and you know how to create a complete web scraping spider. We call spiders. We call whenever you create a script that scrapes a website, we call it a spider. And inside Scrappy project, there's a folder named spiders, and inside of that we save all of the spiders. So make sure that you understand how to create a complex spider. Try to scrape a complete e-commerce website. I have a video about eBay, how to scrape eBay. Watch that and you will understand how to use callbacks and how to go from one link to another, how to scrape a website, let's say from categories to subcategories and subcategories to products, and back and forth, and scrape the whole thing. Okay, so try to get yourself familiar with Scrappy framework. Take 3 to 4 weeks, I guess, and I think overall we will have 6, 7, 8, 9th week. Okay, so that is I think 2 months almost, and after 2 months make sure that we have understanding of all those things. Now next stage is learning about Selenium framework. Selenium is really important because Selenium is basically an automation tool. Okay, so from that it means that if you're using Selenium framework, sorry, Selenium is a library, not a framework. So whenever you install a Selenium, it is used for browser automation. Okay. Uh, Before I go there, let me just give you an overview of Scrapy first, and then I will move on to showing you Selenium as well. So here I'm going to use I'm going to use the terminal. Let me create a terminal first. New terminal, I guess it's not working, maybe. Okay. Okay, this is the terminal I'm going to use. So because you are using, you know, because you are using terminal, inside terminal, try to create a sorry. Okay, just a minute. Okay, I think Abdul Wali has joined. Abdul Wali, walaikum assalam. Okay, now let's create a Scrappy project. To create a Scrappy project, you just need to first install Scrappy in your terminal. Just type pip. If you have pip3 or pip, just type pip install. In my case, I think I have pip3 install Scrappy. Hit enter and it's going to install Scrappy in your computer. Okay, because I've already installed Scrappy, so it's showing these requirements already satisfied. Right, let me just get a question. I think Abdul Wali. Abdul Wali, you can use Selenium first because simple requests will get blocked. So मैं उर्दू में बता दूं कि आप यूज़ कर रहे हो सेलेनियम। पहले आपने सेलेनियम यूज़ करना है। अगर आपको आप स्क्रैपर एपीआईज यूज़ कर सकते हैं। डिफरेंट वेब स्क्रैपिंग एपीआईज हैं जो गूगल को स्क्रैप करती हैं, ठीक है। लेकिन मेरे ख्याल में विदाउट यूजिंग वीपीएन आप प्रॉक्सीज यूज़ कर सकते हो। आई थिंक आपको लिस्ट ऑफ प्रॉक्सीज चाहिए होगी। डाटा सेंटर प्रॉक्सीज हैं, डिफरेंट प्रॉक्सी प्रोवाइडर्स हैं। देयर आर डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ प्रॉक्सी प्रोवाइडर। डाटा सेंटर प्रॉक्सीज, residential proxies depends on your budget and requirements, because if you are using mainly there are two options. Okay, first one is using proxies, second one is using some kind of scraper APIs. Scraper API is something that whenever you send your link to that API endpoint and they send you the response. So you don't need to worry about proxies or IPs are getting blocked or captchas or anything. Okay, but if you are using proxies do get blocked. So I think first option is more expensive than later one, but I think if you that depends on your requirement. So you can use proxies and you can use scrapping APIs. I hope that answers your question, Abdul Wali. All right, so let's go with our Scrappy framework. Okay, to create a Scrappy, let's navigate to our project, tutorials, and roadmap. Okay, Now inside of that, I'm going to create a project, Scrappy project. To create a Scrappy project, just type Scrappy start project and just type enter, and it's going to show you a couple of options what you can do with it. Scrappy start project, and now next argument is project name, and after that you can add a project directory if you want to. Okay, Scrappy start project, and I'm going to call it test project, and I'm going to use the same directory, so I don't need to mention the project directory here. Okay, let's go to test project, and now we have a structure of our Scrappy project. Let me quickly show you here. So if you look here, we have got our folder that I have created using Scrappy start project command. So if you look here, whenever you run Scrappy start project, let me just show you which is Scrappy start project, you will see that it's going to create some files in the same directory. If you type ls, it's going to show you that. It's going to create a directory named test project. You can go inside that directory using test project, cd to test project, and you will see some files inside of that. All right, let me just go back to my VS Studio. Just a minute. All right, I think I need to spend more time on it, try to get myself familiar with it first. Anyways, let's just okay, as you can see that this is my Visual Studio code, and on the left side you will see the test project, that for directory that I have created. Okay, अब्दुल वली सेलेनियम यूज़ करना है बट वीपीएन पर भी अभी इन्वेस्ट नहीं करना चाह रहा, अगर था सर्च करूँ तो ब्लॉक हो सकता है. Abdul Wali, don't need to worry about getting blocked, because if you do get blocked, eventually after 3 to 4 hours they will remove you from. You don't get blocked for forever. So if you want to get, I'm not sure if you want to get 1000 titles or you want to search 1000 keywords. Because if you search one keyword, you will get up to 10 search results. So by that, I think you want to search 100 titles, sorry, keywords. Can you elaborate that? Yeah, see, you know, if you are trying to complete a project for a client or anything, just make sure that you have you will have to spend, you have to invest on that, because you cannot get free proxies, because there's a lot of VPNs and proxies that you can get, but they are not reliable, and you will spend a lot of time investing on that. But there is an option. Let me just send you a link. I think I have links somewhere. Yeah, let me share the link, and yeah, give me a minute. Okay, use this link and try to log in, and they will give you some basic. I think, I'm not sure how many requests they give you, but I think they give you 100 requests, free Scrapper API requests. So what you can do is you can use those requests and fetch the data that you need. Okay, so it means that they will give you an API key and a link with an endpoint. So whenever you send a request using that API key to that endpoint, also with your link as well that you want to scrape, be it a Google link or any other link, it's going to give you the response of that website. If it's Google, it's going to return you the Google response. So I think this is really good and easy to use thing instead of using proxies, because if you use proxies, you will have to rotate proxies, make sure that if proxy is blocked, you will have to use different proxy, and I think they do all of that for you. And there are other options as well. Zite also provides some Scrapper API, and you can use that. If you verify your ID, I think you get $5 free credit there as well. So I think it's pretty good. Anyways, I hope that solves your question, solves your problem. Now, if you look here, we have this complete project. And if you expand the test project, you will see a spiders folder. Inside of spiders folder, whenever you create a spider, it's going to be there. Let me create a spider here first. Okay, inside terminal, just type inside your test project, type Scrappy, Gen Spider, and just hit enter. It's going to show you the options that you can use after Gen Spider to create a Gen Spider. Okay, Gen Spider is a generic spider that we use to crawl our code. Anyways, Scrappy, Gen Spider, name and domain. Just mention name. Let me call it test spider, and the website could be anything. Let me just https webdata360.com. Okay, when you hit enter, it's going to create spider inside spiders folder. Let's go back to our Visual Studio Code. Okay, now you can see that we have created a spider. It has created a spider inside your spiders folder. All right, Abdul Wali, thanks, no problem. Okay, now inside that spider, you will see that we have this spider, and this basically class. This is why I was saying earlier that you need to understand Python first to make sure that you are familiar with the role structure and how Python works and what are classes and how to inherit. If you look here, Scrappy.spider module class is inherited into this class, which means that everything that's in there in this Scrappy.spider class is available for this child class. Okay, so it's really important for you to understand classes first and functions and methods and everything to be able to learn web scraping real fast and without getting into a lot of trouble. Anyways, this is the basic structure of a Scrappy spider, and also this is basically spider. So if you look here, there are a bunch of other options, bunch of other files as well. We have settings file. If you open settings file, you will see that there is option for concurrent requests 32, default is 16. What it means is that whenever you start a spider, and if you have let's say 160 links to scrap, it's going to send 16 concurrent requests. Okay, 160 means that it's going to, if your internet is working fine and you get a response from one website in 1 second, 160 pages will be crawled in 10 seconds. Okay, so whenever you're crawling a large scale website or hundreds and thousands of pages, it's really useful that you can send concurrent requests. But if you're using request with BeautifulSoup or XML, it is going to send one request to the server. When it gets the wait for response, then it's going to process the response, then it's going to send the next request, and so on and so on. So that is going to take a lot of time. But in this case, what happens is that it is using some concurrency, and to make sure that until it gets the next response, it sends the new request to make sure that the process is really fast and we get the response we need. Okay. Now we have some pipelines. First, let's go through the settings as well. We have concurrent. We can send multiple concurrent requests. We can add some download delay. Download delay is something that if you want to send one request, second request, and want to make sure that there is a gap, you don't want to send too many requests, parallel request, and you don't want to burden the server, so you want to add some delay to avoid getting blocked or whatever. So this is important. And if you are using proxies, and if you are scraping multiple domains, different websites, and you want to set different concurrency level for different domains. Inside Spider, I think I have shown you before, allow domains and start URLs. You can use multiple domains, you can scrap multiple websites and multiple links, okay, inside those requests, inside those domains. All right, inside settings, you can see that we have concurrent request per IP as well. So if you are using proxies, you can make sure that you are using how many multiple requests you want to send on a single IP. All right, we have some cookies options, telnet console. All right, some default headers. And now we have some middlewares. I will tell you what middlewares are, download middlewares and extensions, pipelines, and a whole lot of other stuff that when you are scraping a large scale website, you are going to need. Okay, so now let's go back to our let's go to pipelines. So pipelines is something that is responsible for exporting the data. This is the other end of a scraper. Okay, what scraper usually does is that it takes an input, okay, and it crawls the website and exports the output. So the pipelines are responsible for the other end of the scraper, means it is responsible for exporting the scrap data to wherever you want it to be. Okay, if you want the scrap data to saved into a file or a Google bucket or any other platform that where you want to save the data, this is basically a pipeline which is responsible for exporting the data. Now we have you can configure different pipelines. You can do lots of stuff inside these pipelines.py file as well. Now we have middlewares.py. Middlewares.py is responsible for the processing of the spider. So whenever spider starts, if you want to start something with the spider, if you want to close something with the spider, if you want to process per request, let's say if you have a specific request and you want to handle that accordingly, you can use with this middleware. There's a lot of stuff that you can use within this Scrappy middlewares. Now we have items. Items are responsible for what you want to export. Let's say if you have 10 items that we want to scrap and export, we can mention all the names here: name, title, and name, title, and link, and all those things. So this is mostly responsible for the fields that we want to export. Okay, so this is pretty much it about Scrappy framework. I mean, if you want to learn Scrappy framework, it's a complete solution for our scraping. You can scrap large scale website. You can crawl so many pages, hundreds and thousands of pages, large directories, e-commerce websites. So this is a complete solution. Now that after Scrappy, I would recommend getting yourself familiar with Selenium. Take at least 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, or maybe more than a month. Make sure that you are familiar with Scrappy framework, because Scrappy is all-in-one tool that is used for web scraping. After that, once you are familiar with Scrappy framework, go to Selenium. Selenium is basically a browser automation tool, and browser automation tool, this is used for also used for web scraping as well. You can automate tasks. It is basically used for testing and automation. But when we are crawling a website or scraping a website, sometimes data is dynamic. There is some kind of AJAX requests, or we have dynamic content that we cannot scrap using request library or Scrappy. Sometimes, most of the time, we can mimic that AJAX request as well, but sometimes it is takes a lot of effort. So we just use Selenium. So what Selenium does is that it opens a browser and navigates to that website that you normally would do, and after that extract the information to your like using export or CSS selector, and you can save it to CSV or Excel or whatever library you want to use. All right, so to get yourself with Selenium, just type pip install Selenium. Just hold on a minute. Okay, let's get back to our, let's close all these things first. And now we have our Jupyter notebook. Let's use this one. Here outputs. Now to install Selenium, just type up install Selenium. And it's going to install Selenium in your computer if you are using Windows or if you are using MacBook. There are different ways you can use Selenium. So because it loads a Chrome driver, so you have to add some additional like web driver, install a web driver in your computer so that you can use Chrome driver in your web driver in your computer. In case of MacBook, you can download in the default path, as well as in Windows. I think just go to web driver. If you're using Windows, just go to download Chrome web driver. It is a free. It comes from an official website, so you can just download that and unzip it. I'll tell you how to use it. And whenever you unzip it, you will get a Chrome driver.exe file. Okay, and now next thing is, whenever you create a Python file, add it into the same directory. In my case, if you have similar folder, just add that Chrome driver.exe file in the same folder where you have your Python file. Okay, now that we have installed Selenium, let's just go to import it. Let me just remove all this. I think you are familiar with this. Now let's import Selenium. In my case, the Selenium is added to the default path, so I don't need to download and install it in the same directory. Okay. All right. So now that we have our Selenium set up, now I'm going to add a new code here, and just type driver equals to web driver Selenium. Sorry, from Selenium, I need to import from Selenium. Import web driver. Just click run, and you will import driver. Now to launch a driver, just type driver webdriver.chrome. Once you click on that, it's going to pop up a new Chrome window in the same session. So whenever you do that, it's going to launch a window. I think it has launched a window. I'm not sure you can see that. Let me just add one. Sorry about that. Here it is. Just okay. As you can see that this is the window that has opened. After that, let me just get a link inside of it. Now to get a link, let's type maybe https www.google.com and sorry, beg your pardon. I think I made a mistake. Stop it. Okay, first I think I have already launched the driver, so I need to use that driver to get a link. I forgot. Okay, now create a new cell, go there, type driver.get https www.google.com and hit the play button, and you will see that it has loaded a google.com inside the driver. Okay, to get it, maybe let's type anything California, and we have all these options, all these search results. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get these results for you so that you can see what is really going on. Go to inspect. Click on this button and just go to title you want to extract. Now we have h3 tag. What we need is an h3 tag, so I'm going to extract all the h3 tags from this this page. Let's go back to our Visual Studio. Now let's create a new code here. To get a link, let's to element from that page, let's type driver.find elements. And now if you're using Selenium 4 or later, you need to use find elements inside bracket, you need to use by .xpath, and here you need to type your XPath. But if you're using maybe earlier version of Selenium, you can simply type find elements underscore by and by XPath, by underscore XPath, and that is going to work fine. But in this case, I need to import by as well. So let's go back to Selenium. From Selenium dot should just a minute. I think it is. Okay. WebDriver dot common dot by import by. Remember that you don't need to remember everything. Just make sure that you have it saved somewhere so that you can use it. Okay, run it, and it's going to import by from Selenium WebDriver, and now I can use it. I think what was the tag name was h3. So let's extract h3 from. All right, let's try to run it. And as you can see that we have got all the h3 tags. Dot text will not do, I think, list object. Okay, I have this a list object, so I cannot extract apply dot text on it. So let's loop over it for x in this print x dot text. All right, as you can see that we have got all the h3 tags. First one, visit California, California flag, and all these search results are in h3 tag, I guess. California, visit California. I think we've got all the links. Let's get the links as well. H3. All right, so because a tag is the parent of h3 tag, so let's go to the parent and get link from, sorry. Okay, let me just show you as well. If you look here, we have, let me just rearrange this in the bottom, expand this. Okay, if you look here, this is a tag, and we have link in this a tag. Okay, and we have h3 tag inside a tag. So what we need to do is we need to go from here, we need to go here. From this, we are going to write an export to go from child to parent, and then we are going to extract that from this parent tag. Okay, so let's just go back to our studio and do that. So because we have x is basically an, see, this is a WebDriver element, so we can use this find element again on this dot find element by dot export. Okay, but one thing, make sure that you are you start whenever you are typing an XPath on an element instead of the whole HTML. Make sure that you start your XPath with dot. Okay, so let's do that. Dot. In this case, we will have to do this and slash. Just a minute, I think that's parent a tag. Don't think we will need this one. Let's see if I got this. I think I have got this. So let's just get attribute, and here I can get href. See, as you can see that I have got all the links. So what I did here is that I did it really quick. I'm not sure you got it. What I did here is that I was getting h3 tag. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to get an a tag. So from h3 tag, I use parent. This is basically a built-in export expression where we can go from like child to parent, from like sub tag to parent tag. So h3 is basically sub tag of a tag. So I can use h3 slash parent double colons, and after that type a, and you will be able to go from bottom to top. Okay, from top to bottom you just need to type slash and a, and you will go from h3 to a. But to go from a to h3 you just need to go do the opposite. But in this case, because H3 is subtag of A, we need to go from H3 parent A. But if H3 was child of A, we would have, sorry, A was child of H3, we would have to use like H3 slash A and we would be good to go. I hope this makes sense. If you have any question, you can ask, okay? Now let's move on to, now we have got, now you understand how Selenium works. Let's create a new code and try to quit out of this, just drive.quit, and I think it's going to close your session, okay? I hope this makes sense. Now you are familiar with Selenium. Next step is I'm going to narrate the next few steps so that you can follow those steps and try to understand then the all web scraping framework. Now that we have scraped the website using Selenium, first we have scraped the website using request library. Now after that we did the same thing using we parsed that using BeautifulSoup and request library, sorry, BeautifulSoup and XML. After that, I have explained a little bit about Scrappy framework as well, and now we have collected some data using Selenium browser automation. Now the next stage that comes after this one is that you need to save the data to maybe SQLite database, because whenever you are scraping the data, you don't always need to like save that to CSV file or XML file or XML file or Excel file. So to understand how SQLite works, you just need to, when you get the data, download the data, you just need to get yourself familiar with SQLite and SQL queries, select queries, insert queries, update queries, delete queries, so that you can insert the data in your SQLite database. Just spend some time on it, few days, maybe a day or two, to understand how SQL works, and practice some SQL queries as well. And once you do that, once you have some basic knowledge of SQL databases, implement that in your code, in your Scrappy and Selenium code, and try to insert the data, scrape data. Instead of inserting that data into a database, sorry, into a CSV file or Excel file, try to insert that data into a SQLite database, okay? And once you do that, now the next stage is retrieving that data from SQLite database and showing that data to a website. Now at this stage, you will need to create a, Flask API. So this is the stage where you will be able to create a complete solution for your client if you are using web scraping for yourself, or you are using web scraping to collect data for, if you are a freelancer, or if you are a student, or if you have to like collect data for competitive analysis or whatever. All you need to do is you need to create a complete solution, okay? So from creating a complete solution, it means that you will have to collect the data, save it into database, and to represent the data, you will have to also create a Flask API or any kind of REST API to so that your client or you can fetch the data and display it in your website. To create that, just create a Flask API, learn about Flask APIs and how you can create a simple endpoint. If your data is stored in your SQLite database, it's a lot easier for you to fetch that data and return a JSON file or any other format that you want, or text, JSON, .xml, by retrieving that from your SQLite database. So this whole scenario is is about scraping the data and displaying that into your website. So once you do that, once you are able to scrape the data and display it into your website, or you can fetch it using API, I think this is the end-to-end solution. At this point, you can call yourself a complete maybe a full stack web scraping expert, or a web scraping expert, because you can provide a complete service to a client and scrape a website, insert into SQLite database, fetch the from SQLite database and display that to the website using APIs. So this is all for today. I think this is this. Really sorry if it was not very, consistent, because this was the first time. This is my first time streaming and streaming live. And thanks for participating. If you have any questions, you can ask in my video description as well. Just ask in comments if you have any questions. Thanks for watching, and have a good day and have a nice day. Don't forget to subscribe.